What's the most joy you've had as a writer?
The most joy I've had as a writer is seeing my work affect people, both at a screening of something I wrote that has been made into a film, and then also even in a table read, or even just hearing it after the fact. Someone read my screenplay and just talks about not what's good about it or what's not working, but just where they responded to. I think that's when I've gotten the most joy, because I think it's what we're trying to do. I think as a screenwriter, you're trying to affect someone, and when you can do that in an honest and real way through a piece of art that you made, I think you've achieved the goal, at least in terms of the art.
And on the flip side, the most pain you've had as a writer?
The most pain I've had as a writer are the days that I didn't write and I have no good reason that I didn't write. Feeling like I planned to put in the work today and I didn't. And that's going to set me back simply as a professional that shows up to do the job. That feels tough, looking at yourself in the mirror and recognize that there was nobody holding you back today except for you. And that feeling is tough.
Were you always that honest with yourself? Like knowing this is more me than, well, I had this deadline to meet? That's pretty self-reflective.
I think I've always been self-reflective, but not always in, I think, a very honest way. I think I was interested in a lot of self-help books and stuff to make me a better person, a better writer, a better whatever, but I wasn't actually putting in the work of like kind of who I am now and how I tick and what gets me going, what turns me off, all those sort of things. I'd never really done the self-reflection required for that. I was just kind of taking a lot in externally, but not really doing the internal digging. And it wasn't until a few years ago that I realized that and started doing that self-reflection. And it's tough, I think. I think it's necessary to be a great artist. I think you have to do that, especially if you're putting yourself out on the page. You have to really understand who you are so that you understand what's coming out. And it's not always the best picture of yourself. The reflection that you see changes day to day, and that has as much to do with who you are inside, but also who you are in what you're seeing. It's perception, both inward and outward. And sometimes when you see that reflection and you say, oh, that's, you had no good reason to not work today on your art that you say you love. So what's going on? And when I can't really find an answer that feels satisfactory, it's probably the most pain I feel as a writer.
So do you think you feel like you've let yourself down?
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest letdown, is that I have let myself down. And everything else in relation to that, I feel like I can take in stride. If someone doesn't like my work, if someone doesn't want to produce my work, if someone doesn't want to work with me, there's always there's someone else that is involved in that dynamic. And so there's always something there to say, okay, well, I can do all the self-reflection I want, but maybe that's just on them. There's something there, and like this just isn't going to work out. Like, for whatever reason, if I let that person down, if they let me down, there's always someone else. But when it's you letting yourself down, there's no one else to deflect any of that feeling towards, whether that deflection is right or wrong. And so you just kind of feel it on both ends, I think, because you let someone down, yourself, and you are also let down by someone, yourself. So it can be a little isolating and lonely and painful when that happens, but it's human. I think we all do that, and so I guess I should remember that as well.
Well, that goes back to when we started out the interview, which was just being in LA and traffic and then wanting to arrive on time, especially if you want to be punctual. And sometimes there's just things just totally doesn't matter. You could have, a half hour early, I'll be fine, and some crazy thing happens and there's a roadblock, and going back to, you feel like you've let yourself and someone else down, but it's out of your control, kind of thing.
Yeah. So it's when everything is in your control and it happens, that's when I feel the pain. I keep repeating pain because I feel like that was the question. Makes it seem more dramatic. But that's when as a writer it's tough, I think. So I mean, the way out of that is to show up and write. So that's what I try to do.